Welcome to e-commerce psychology, everybody. And this deep dive is powered by Growth Suite.
Mm-hmm.
Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store.
Right?
Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Yeah.
You're here, I know, because you want to get inside the e-commerce mind, right? Like figure out what makes it tick.
Yeah.
And you want to do it without getting, total lost in the weeds.
Right. Exactly.
So today we're going deep, deep, deep into something super fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
The neural pathways of brand loyalty.
Oh.
We're going to explore how our brains actually create these connections with the brands that we love, we come back to, we can't live without.
That's right.
And we're going to bring in insights from all over the place,
Yeah.
neuroscience,
Yeah.
psychology, and even kind of the front lines of marketing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Think of this as like a cheat sheet, right?
Yeah.
To understanding like why you always grab that same brand of coffee
Yeah.
every single morning, or like, why you gravitate toward a certain online store every time you're like,
I'm going there.
exactly. So we've done the heavy lifting. We've gone through all the research, all the latest thinking, and we're bringing you the core, the essence of what really matters.
The good stuff. Yeah, so our trip today, it's going to be like this amazing journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through how we understand loyalty, how we've come to understand it.
Uh-huh.
We started with this really basic idea like, oh, somebody bought it again, they must be loyal.
Right.
But now we're talking about the brain.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like all the intricacies of how our brain works.
A whole new level, yeah.
So we're going to map out literally like what are the key parts of the brain and what are those chemical messengers that are actually creating this attachment to brands.
Right.
We're going to uncover how those preferences, like the things we like, turn into habits, those things we do without thinking, and then how strong are the experiences we have with brands? How do those really make us feel connected?
Right.
Personalization, we're going to get into that. Like when something's made just for you.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. Right.
Feels good.
We're going to talk about loyalty programs. Like, are they designed to hit our brain in just the right way?
Absolutely.
Communities, that sense of belonging.
Yeah.
We're going to look at that. And even, like, can we measure loyalty in the brain? Like, can we see it happening?
That's the really cool part.
Oh, and real-world examples, we got to see this in action, right?
Of course.
So our mission, you ready for this?
Hit me.
We're going to come out of this, and we're going to understand the neuroscience behind why we stick with some brands, what it means for the businesses that are trying to get our attention, and just as important, what it tells us about ourselves, our own habits, our own preferences, all that good stuff. So let's start by going back in time a little bit. Like, how did we even begin to figure out why we like certain brands? It wasn't all brain scans and fancy equipment in the beginning, right?
No, not at all. The old school way of looking at loyalty was really simple. It's like, hey, if someone's happy with what they bought, a product, a service, whatever, they'll probably buy it again, right?
Makes sense.
And it was all about like watching what people did. Did they buy it again? Did they give us, a thumbs up on a survey?
Tell us what you think.
Exactly. But you know what?
Right.
Modern neuroscience, it's showing us there's a whole other world going on under the surface.
Right.
It's like it's emotions, it's the way our brain gets rewarded, and these deep habits that are wired into us that are really driving those choices.
So it's not just us sitting there going, okay, logically, this is the best choice for me.
Right.
It's something deeper.
Yeah, it's much more primal.
Yeah, it's got to be wired in. And marketing, they've had to adapt to this.
Yeah.
They can't just be like, here are the features and benefits anymore. Right.
Not anymore. I mean, the early days of marketing, they really focused on the logical stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's what this product does, here's how it'll benefit you.
Yeah.
But now it's all about connecting on an emotional level. Like really tapping into those subconscious desires, those preferences that people might not even realize they have.
So how do we figure that out?
Right. Well, this is where the big shift comes in. Like just looking at what people do, it only tells us so much.
Right.
Surveys and purchase history, they don't give us the why. And those emotional triggers, man, they're like gold.
Well, like get to the bottom of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is where I think neuromarketing comes in, right?
Yes.
This is huge. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh, yes.
That's basically letting us see inside the consumer's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So Tell me about it. What is neuromarketing bringing to the table? What's new?
Okay, so neuromarketing, it uses some really cool tools, right? Like fMRI, which basically measures blood flow in the brain, and it shows us like where the activity is happening.
Wow.
And then you got EEG, which tracks the brain's electrical signals. So with these technologies, researchers can actually watch how our brains react to marketing stuff.
So like if you see a logo,
Yeah.
if you see an ad,
An advertisement, product packaging, the whole experience.
and we can see what's happening in the brain.
Yes, exactly. And this is huge because it unlocks these hidden preferences, emotional responses that like traditional market research just can't touch.
Right, like asking somebody on a survey, how do you feel? Doesn't really tell us what's happening.
No, not at all.
So this is really powerful stuff. So what are some of the biggest things we've learned from looking this deep, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be, oh, people like things that make them feel good.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, right?
Okay.
But one of the biggest takeaways is that brand loyalty, it's not just this like cold, calculated decision. It's deeply tied to our emotions.
Okay.
The way our brain anticipates rewards, like, ooh, I'm going to get something good.
Yeah.
And the memories that we form around a brand.
Okay.
Think about it. Like you might get this genuine feeling of comfort or excitement when you interact with a brand that you really love.
Yeah.
And that's your brain doing its thing.
Like lighting up going, yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so for all the businesses out there listening, why is this important?
Yeah, that's the key question, right?
Why should they care about this engagement on a brain level? What's the bottom line here?
Okay, so here's the deal. The potential benefits are huge.
Okay.
Like research is showing us over and over again that when people have this positive neural engagement with a brand, they stick around longer.
They become more loyal customers. And when loyalty programs are designed with the brain in mind,
Yeah.
they work better, they're more effective.
Interesting.
Right. So you get a better return on your investment.
So the companies that really get this, that get how the brain works.
Yeah, they have a real advantage.
Yeah.
They're building deeper connections, more emotional connections. And that translates into like customers who are worth more over time and more stable revenue.
Wow, okay.
So it's not just about understanding what makes people buy stuff. It's about understanding their brains.
Okay, so let's get specific about the brain now, okay?
Okay.
Like what are the parts, the literal parts, the hardware,
Yeah.
that are involved in making us loyal to brands? If our brain is this machine, which parts are like working the hardest
Right.
when it comes to brand love?
Okay, so there are a few key players here.
Correct.
First up, you got the limbic system.
Limbic system, okay.
A lot of people call it the emotional center of the brain. And this is where like those deep down gut feelings about brands can really take hold.
Got it.
Like that sense of comfort you get with a familiar brand
Yeah.
that's often rooted in the limbic system.
I know that. I like that. I feel good.
Exactly. Then you got the prefrontal cortex, which is like the more thinking part of the brain,
Okay.
right? It's involved in decision-making, expressing preferences, like, I like this better than that.
Okay.
It helps us weigh our options and choose the brands that we're drawn to.
And then habits.
Oh,
Like we do things without even thinking.
That's the basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia, okay.
And this part, it's essential for taking those good experiences, those initial positive interactions, and turning them into, like, routines. Like, you reach for that same brand without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And then finally, you got the nucleus accumbens.
Nucleus accumbens.
This is part of the brain's reward system. It's all about pleasure, right? And it releases dopamine, which is this amazing neurochemical that we'll dive into later.
Okay.
But basically, it gives you that good feeling when you have a pleasurable experience, or even when you just anticipate it.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Exactly. So like a satisfying interaction with the brand.
It's like that build-up, that excitement.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's not just one part of the brain going, I love this brand.
No.
It's a whole network.
It's a whole team effort.
So how do these different parts talk to each other?
Right.
How do they work together
Yeah.
to create that feeling of like, this is my brand?
So they've got like these communication lines, these neural networks. So
Okay.
for example, there's this network called the default mode network.
Default mode network, okay.
And it's active when we're kind of just chilling, not focused on a specific task, maybe daydreaming a little bit, thinking about ourselves.
Right.
And And this network, it can pull up memories, associations that we have with different brands.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And then when we actually engage with a brand, we often see this thing called neural synchronization.
Neural synchronization.
Which means that the activity in the emotional centers of our brain, like the limbic system, it starts to line up with the activity in the decision-making areas.
Oh, so it's all working together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like our feelings and our thoughts, they're on the same page.
I like that.
Right, about this brand.
So we're getting that full picture.
Yeah.
Okay, now, you mentioned white matter pathways earlier. What are those? Are they like the information highways in the brain?
They are. They're the superhighways.
Okay.
They're the ones that help transmit signals between all those different parts of the brain. And the more we have these positive interactions with a brand, the more these specific pathways that are linked to that brand, they get used and they get stronger.
So it's like building a muscle.
Exactly. It's like, when you practice playing a musical instrument.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the stronger those connections get and the easier it becomes to play.
And you don't even have to think about it. You just do it.
Right. It becomes automatic.
So with brands, it's the same. The more you have that good experience, the easier it is to come back.
It's like your brain has built this well-worn path.
I like that. Okay.
Back to that brand.
Now, are there like specific regions of the brain that are like experts in handling different parts of brand loyalty?
There seems to be, yeah.
Right.
Like, research is pointing to some specialization.
Okay.
So, for example, the amygdala, it's really good at emotional tagging.
Okay.
It helps us connect emotions to our experiences, which makes some brands feel more important or memorable than others.
Okay.
Then you got the hippocampus, which is all about forming new memories.
Okay.
And that's why, like, those positive brand experiences, they can be so powerful, they stick with us.
Yeah, they make that memory.
Exactly. And then there's the anterior cingulate cortex, which helps us resolve conflicts.
Ooh.
So like when we're trying to choose between two different brands.
Ooh, this one or that one.
Exactly. It steps in and helps us make that decision.
Interesting.
And then the insula, it's processing social cues, empathy, those signals.
Okay.
So it might explain why we feel more connected to brands that build a sense of community or that align with our values.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the physical structure right. But we got to talk about the chemical messengers.
The neurotransmitters.
Neurotransmitters, yes.
Yeah.
So which ones are really driving this whole brand relationship thing?
Okay, so neurotransmitters, they're like the little signals that zip around in our brains. And dopamine, it's the star of the show when it comes to loyalty.
Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, right?
Exactly. It's all about reward, anticipation, and pleasure.
Okay.
So when we have a good experience with a brand, dopamine gets released. And that strengthens our association with that brand.
Makes us want to come back for more?
Exactly. It's like, ooh, that felt good. I want more of that.
Give me more.
And what's really fascinating is that people can react differently to the same experience.
Oh, okay.
Some people might get this huge dopamine rush
Yeah.
and become super loyal, while others might not react as strongly.
So it's like some of us are just wired to be more loyal.
Yeah, it's like having a more sensitive reward system
Interesting.
for certain brands.
Okay, now what about oxytocin?
Oh, oxytocin.
We hear that a lot when we're talking about social bonding.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it fit into this brand loyalty picture?
Okay, so oxytocin, it's often called the trust hormone or the love hormone.
Okay.
And it's essential for building those feelings of connection, of trust. And when a brand, when it creates a community,
Right.
when it shows that it really cares about its customers, or when it helps people connect with each other, like through their products,
Okay.
it can actually trigger oxytocin release in our brains.
Really?
Yeah, it's like building that feeling of belonging, of being part of something bigger.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And that makes us more attached to the brand.
So like when brands have events,
Yes.
or they create those online forums where people can talk to each other.
Exactly.
That's really hitting that oxytocin.
They're tapping into that shared positive experience.
We're all in this together.
Exactly.
Okay, now what about serotonin?
Serotonin.
We hear about that one with mood, right?
Yeah. Mood and well-being.
Well-being, yeah. So where does it fit into all this?
Okay, so serotonin, it's linked to this feeling of status,
Okay.
satisfaction and significance. Like, you matter. So when they offer you those exclusive perks,
Okay.
like VIP programs, loyalty tiers, or maybe early access to new products.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
It's like, you're special.
Exactly. It makes you feel special. And that can trigger serotonin release,
Okay.
leading to these feelings of contentment and value, like you're being recognized for your loyalty. Now, it's important to remember that not everyone reacts the same way to these things.
Okay.
There are individual differences,
Right.
even cultural differences in how strongly people respond to serotonin-related stuff.
Okay.
So brands need to be mindful of that.
So what makes one person feel valued might not do it for someone else.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting. So these brain chemicals,
Mm-hmm.
that they really are powerful in shaping how we feel about brands.
Oh, yeah.
Now let's talk about habits.
Okay.
So many of our choices every day, including what we buy,
Uh-huh.
become habitual.
Yeah, we do things on autopilot.
Yeah, so how does it turn brand loyalty into like this deeply ingrained habit?
This is where the neural habit loop comes in.
Neural habit loop. Okay.
You got it. And it's got 3 parts.
Okay.
The cue, the routine, and the reward.
Okay, walk me through it.
Okay, so in the world of brands,
Mm-hmm.
a cue could be something as simple as seeing a familiar logo
Okay.
or even just being in a certain store environment.
Yeah.
That triggers your senses,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that triggers the basal ganglia,
Basal ganglia. Okay.
which is like, okay, time to initiate the routine.
Okay.
So maybe that routine is visiting a specific website
Mm-hmm.
or heading to your favorite aisle in the store.
I know exactly where it is.
Exactly. And then the nucleus accumbens,
Okay.
it's like waiting in anticipation
Mm-hmm.
for the reward, right? And
Right.
the reward is that satisfaction you get from the brand,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, the taste of that coffee you love
Yeah.
or the reliable service you've come to expect.
I know they're going to get it right.
Exactly.
So we go through this loop over and over.
Yeah.
See the brand, engage with the brand, feel good.
Mm-hmm. And we're just reinforcing that pathway in the brain.
It's like etching it in.
Exactly.
Okay.
And over time, those actions, they go from being conscious decisions, like, the prefrontal cortex is in control,
Okay.
to being more automatic, managed by the basal ganglia.
So we don't even have to think about it.
It's like second nature.
Yeah.
There's even this process called myelination,
Myelination.
which is basically like this fatty substance wraps around the neurons involved in those repeated actions, and it speeds up the signals.
Wow.
So it's like those choices become even more instinctive.
It's like the superhighway is getting even faster.
Exactly.
Okay.
Research shows that a huge chunk of our consumer behavior is habitual, which is why brands, they really try to become part of those automatic routines.
It's like they want to be the go-to, the easy choice.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you reach for your favorite snack without even considering the other options.
I don't even have to look.
Exactly.
So it sounds like our brain is like this efficiency machine.
Oh, yeah.
It wants to save energy wherever it can.
It's all about conserving energy.
Is there like a cost-benefit analysis happening when we choose a familiar brand versus trying something new?
Absolutely. So studies have shown,
Including?
some really interesting ones with primates at MIT,
Primates, okay.
that we tend to go for the options that require less mental work.
Interesting.
So when a brand is already like familiar in our neural pathways,
Yeah.
choosing it again, it's just easier.
Yeah.
It takes less brain power than checking out all the new options.
I know what I'm getting with this one.
Exactly. So sticking with what it's like taking the brain's shortcut.
Yeah, like I don't even have to think about it. This is the easy route.
Exactly.
Okay. So beyond those repeated actions, beyond the habits, our actual experiences with brands, they're going to play a huge role.
Oh, they're essential.
Yeah.
Like the experiential dimensions of loyalty, they're so important.
Okay.
Our brains are constantly taking in information from our senses.
Sight, smell, taste, touch.
The whole works, and they're weaving it all together
Well,
into this complete brand experience. And when those cues, when they line up
yeah.
and they create a positive feeling,
Okay.
that's when we get these strong, memorable associations.
So the store that always smells a certain way?
Yeah, a signature scent, a consistent store design, even the way a product feels in your hand.
Yeah.
All of that reinforces the memory, the emotional connection.
So they're really thinking about the whole package.
Exactly. And the brands that get it right, they're the ones that are creating these strong neural connections.
And the emotions, those are key, right?
Emotions are everything.
Like we remember things more when they're tied to a strong feeling.
Absolutely. The amygdala, remember.
Amygdala, yeah.
It loves those emotionally charged experiences.
Okay.
It makes them stand out in our memory.
Okay.
So brands that can create those positive emotions consistently, whether it's joy, excitement, nostalgia, even just pure pleasure,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are going to stick with us.
They're going to win.
Exactly. And one really powerful strategy is focusing on what we call peak end moments.
Peak end moments, okay.
Which basically means making sure that the most intense parts of the experience and the very last moments leave a strong, positive impression.
It's like going out with a bang.
Exactly, because those are the moments that your brain is going to hold on to.
So we're building these emotional memories through experiences. Can we actually see this happening in the brain?
We can, yeah.
Like, can we measure that experiential loyalty?
There are ways to get a glimpse of it, yeah.
Okay.
So fMRI, for example.
fMRI, okay.
It can show us which parts of the brain are lighting up when someone's having a brand experience.
Yeah.
So we get clues about emotional processing, reward anticipation.
Okay.
EEG can track brain activity in response to different parts of the experience.
Okay.
And what's really cool is that sometimes we see this neural synchronization.
Neural synchronization, yeah.
Across groups of people who are all having the same positive experience with the brand.
So we're all on the same wavelength.
Yeah, it's like this collective emotional response.
Wow.
And then dopamine. Remember dopamine?
Dopamine, yeah.
We can measure that too.
Okay.
And it can actually act as a marker of anticipation.
Okay.
And predict how loyal someone might become in the future.
So we can look at the brain and go, ooh, this person is really into this.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now let's talk about personalization.
Okay.
It's everywhere these days, right?
It's huge.
Like every brand is trying to personalize everything.
Yeah, they want to make it feel like it's just for you.
So what's happening in our brains when we see something that's like tailored just for us?
Personalization, it taps into this deep human need to feel like we're seen, like we're understood.
Like we're special.
Exactly. And when we get a personalized experience, like a product recommendation that's spot on, or an email that addresses our specific needs, or even just seeing our name.
Yeah.
Brain scans show increased activity in areas linked to satisfaction and reward.
It's like our brain's going, yes, they get me.
Exactly. And that feeling of being understood, it releases all these positive signals and strengthens the connection with the brand.
So even small things like remembering what I bought before.
Yes.
Or giving me content that's relevant to me.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, okay.
It shows that the brand is paying attention.
And now with algorithms,
oh yeah,
personalization is getting really, really advanced.
Super advanced.
Like, how does our brain react to that?
Right. So when these algorithms, when they get it right,